So that you had this crisis meeting being called upon.
No.
Why a crisis meeting? Yes.
I don't think when somebody airs an opinion, they are disgruntled.
Yes.
They are not disgruntled. It just happens that I, as Rosa, have
But Sifuna is speaking for many.
But it is
Which
not
are these
disgruntled.
many?
Yeah, which is not just
But
him.
that is an opinion. He's not disgruntled. Let's get this right. He just has a different opinion from maybe what Rosa has, but that is not being disgruntled. So when we meet as a party, and I didn't know this was going to be about ODM, but I'm glad that it's about ODM because now we can talk to members of ODM and Kenyans at large. It does not mean that if Sifuna aired his view or his opinion, is disgruntled.
Yes.
And it does not mean that he was wrong. And I've said that the meeting we had yesterday brought in different ODM members who are in the Central Committee with different opinions about different things. And we discussed whatever we discussed and came up with that resolution together.
Okay.
But I want to say this. Indeed, when our party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, signed up to that ODM with UDA, it was to calm the country. But not only to calm the country, we needed a better country. And that's why you had them discuss things like inclusivity. And we all know that all Kenyans want to have this, to have inclusivity in this country. We discussed devolution because we know that with devolution, every part of this country will be developed like the other country, the other parts. We discussed different things, but we also discussed the issue of Article 37, the right for people to demonstrate or to picket peaceably. And we discussed that and we said, what is it? Let us take stock of this 10-point agenda and see where improvement has been made and where improvement is still lacking and what can be done about it. At the end of it, each person had an opportunity to give their opinion on each of those 10-point agenda.
Right.
And we said that there is slow movement in some areas. We said that compensation, which was part of the 10-point agenda, and stoppage of abduction and extrajudicial killings, those have to stop.
Yes.
And we said, how then do we ensure that these are hastened to stop? Because they must stop.
Right.
And that is why we came up with the team, 5 members from UDA, 5 members from ODM, technical team, void of any being politicians. And they would therefore ensure that all the action that would make Kenya a better place is accelerated. And I think that is something to...
Yeah. Search me a second, because you say that there's some slow movement in some of the articles of the Memorandum of Understanding, one of which is corruption. And I think you've also just given a thumbs up to the President for the good salutary effort that is made in passing the conflict of interest bill. Now it's an act. But it had a good intent from the National Assembly. Can you believe that you are seated between 2 senators, that this particular bill was frustrated within Senate? It went to the President for ascension, right? And the President brought it back, right, to the Senate because it was totally watered down. I think there were discrepancies between the National Assembly and the Senate. I don't know what the issue were. And how they watered down, because you had a very good intent. But do we have senators who also have good intent with the conflict of interest bill? Why did it go back?
No, I mean, the 3 of us are here talking, and you can see we have divergent views in some of the issues we are discussing now.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that if we are senators and we are National Assembly members, we all think the same, okay? We all represent Kenyans, but we have different opinions and different thoughts. You might find that, for example, Rosa, I'm in some business, for example, and I look at that bill and it's not sitting pretty with me. I don't want it because it's going to interfere with my business. So I might bring an opposition to it. Okay? But remember that the legislations that come out are supposed to be for posterity and are supposed to be for the good of the whole country. So when it goes to the Senate, they have a second chance to look at it. When it goes to the President, he even has another chance to look at it. When it comes back, so these chances of looking at things that are important or legislations that are important to the country is a positive. When it comes back with a note, can you relook at this? And then you relook at it. So I think having so many eyes or opportunity for different eyes to look at a legislation before it becomes law is a positive thing.
It seems that there was a lot of duplication that we saw this, and I watched it, you senators really debating feistly on this particular conflict of interest bill and saying, oh, that the National Assembly has not done their homework. All this is just a regurgitation of other acts, compiled together.
But that is good. That is good. That is not duplication. It is a good thing that the Senate does not have to agree with everything that comes from National Assembly. That's a good thing because it gets us to a position where we even discuss further.
The president said it was watered down.
So today he signed what was watered down?
No, he took it back.
And that's what I'm saying. Isn't that a good thing? That he can bring it back and it can be looked at. That opportunity that we have stages before legislation becomes into law is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I think what I can say, because, National Assembly and the Senate complement each other. There is no competition.
Hardly.
Hardly.
And number two, hardly compliment.
Number two, when the presidential memorandum came back, it more agreed with us. Because, for example, when it came to definition of a relative, when you say a relative, and you say my relative cannot do business, for example.
And they're
Kenyans. Does it mean my spouse or my relatives cannot do business because I'm a state officer? Don't you think it is also threatening their own rights? Because, as Africans, we have 1,001 relatives. And that is why at the beginning we were hesitant with this bill, because we thought it was more of a World Bank or a sponsored kind of the bill, because we thought if you want to define a relative under African context, the relative means a lot of things. Because number two, and then another aspect was my associate. I have friends. Does it mean if I have a friend, he can't do business in Kenya? Because then we were imagining our relatives and our associates might in future decampaign us by saying, if Senator Onyonga becomes a senator today, I will lose my opportunity of doing business. Or your spouse even might say, if this gentleman or this lady gets elected, I cannot live my life. So our question we were asking ourselves at that point in time, before the president came back with presidential memorandum, after a cleanup, was that we were undermining the freedom of association, freedom of doing their own things. The fact that I'm related to you, or the fact that I'm your friend, your life does not stop because I'm a state officer. And those were some of the issues that we thought we could discuss with it. The National Assembly had their view, the Senate. So when the memorandum came, President memorandum largely agreed with some of the issues we were raising, and we did a cleanup. And that is when now, and I'm happy because there is a National Assembly, this is a bicameral setup, then the Senate looks at it. Even us, sometimes we send what we think our position as a Senate, then it goes to National Assembly, they have a different opinion. So on the passage of this conflict of interest, it was never watered down. Because if it was watered down, we would not have passed. But after the presidential memorandum, he agreed with us with many of the issues in terms of cleanup of the bill to ensure the effectiveness and opportunity. Because conflict of interest in itself was that you find governors, for example, and I've seen EACC investigating a number of them, having companies that are directly associated with them, doing business with their own counties. And under the law, state officer should not be doing. And I think where the problem was, I don't know whether when Mbithi was the head of public service, during Moi era, where public officers were being allowed to do business with government. So as a country, in this conflict of interest, and I want to appeal to government that I think there should be directive that civil servants should not do business with government. And we must take that as a firm position. If we take that as a firm position, before the Mbithi era direction came into force, then we are able to fight the issue of corruption in this country. Because at the end of the day, the issue of conflict of interest, I think the Economic Crimes Act, where President Kibaki started in 2003, one of the grounds was the conflict of interest. And now we have elaborated, we are giving a chance EACC to ensure they effectively and efficiently fight corruption in this country. So if those are the aspects that the conflict of interest bill or conflict of interest act that has been ascended to, I want to confirm to the country, because I saw this misrepresentation by media, the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya, either National Assembly or the Senate, did not anyway water down the Conflict of Interest Act. What we did was to improve and to become realistic. And I've given you one example of what definition of an associate or relative was.
Thank you, thank you.
And maybe before I exit, there was this small matter in ODM. By the way, Rosa and